so excited. It's one of those weird ones. So if you guys have never been to a live on Finding Nemo surf fishing, it's a completely different format. This isn't what it normally is. Actually, this time normally I'm on with my buddy Mike from Smitty's Surf Fishing, and we are primarily talking about the fishing report in our area. But this week I got a phone call, and it was a good one. It was a really good one. It was from my buddy Barry. You guys have heard him on the episode. You've seen him live with me all the time. He's like, "Hey, have you and Adam talked?" I was like, "No, I haven't talked to Adam since our last episode. What's going on?" And he's like, Adam's really got some info about this whole Florida amendment too." And I was like, "Oh, dude, I'd love to hear about it." And tonight we're going to talk about it. So if you've already voted, that's cool. Hey, it's all good. This is really informative. So there's no script for it. This is going to be 100% off the cuff. Yeah, what could go wrong? So I'm very, very, very excited about this, and I hope you all are too. It's going to be really good. So this episode of the podcast is going to be brought to you by Fish Bites, the bait that never lets you down. Whether you're fishing in saltwater or freshwater, Fish Bites, they got you covered with their easy-to-use, mess-free baits, irresistible to fish. No more dealing with slimy, stinky bait. You just cut it, hook it, and cast. Plus, Fish Bites last longer. Whether it's in the surf, the freshwater, it just keeps attracting fish, even when the bite's tough. So if you're ready to step up the fishing game, grab some Fish Bites for the next trip. And trust me, once you do, you'll wonder how you fish without it. You can thank me later. Don't worry. You'll love it. You're listening to Finding Nemo Surf Fishing. Here we go. Oh man, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Things are going well. You had a great weekend. Some fishing got done. There's a lot of great tournaments coming up, and it's practically fall. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm looking forward to that great change in that weather. So, like I said, we're bringing Captain Adam Morley on. If you have not heard his episode before from Janung's Fish Camp, we had a great episode. He was talking to me while he was fishing. It was definitely an unexpected go, but it was a lot of fun. It worked out really well. Actually, after he was done, his phone was completely dead. So I don't think we could have timed it any better. But lots of great information and just an all around great captain, and gives a very, very big crap about the environment in our fishing world, just like I do. So without further ado, I'm going to quit flapping my jibs here. What up?
What's up?
It's good to see you, man.
You too. And it is definitely fall here as well. We're feeling that change in the temperature, that the daylight savings, all that stuff. All of a sudden it hit me today. I was like, wow, it's fall.
Yeah, that switch definitely does it. And ladies and gentlemen, I didn't ask earlier, but I'll ask now. If you want to share this out, because this is knowledge. This is a knowledge-based podcast. It always has been. It always will be. That's what this is about tonight. We're not doing any kind of other things. We are spreading the knowledge piece because, well, quite frankly, I didn't know a lot about this stuff. I read it and I was like, okay, this is kind of vague, but I don't know. It sounds good. But it's been a hell of a research endeavor trying to find stuff on it. There's the for crew and the no crew, both have great points and that. So we're gonna really dig into it here without that. So Adam, if you're good with it, I'm gonna go ahead and read what the amendment says without the other ones there. So I'm gonna go with the ballot summary here. And this ballot summary is coming from Ballotpedia. From what I understand, it's pretty much just reads it forward. So the ballot summary is as follows: proposing an amendment to the state constitution to preserve forever fishing and hunting, including by the use of traditional methods as a public right and preferred means of responsibly managing and controlling fish and wildlife. Specifies that the amendment does not limit the authority granted to the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission under Section 9, Article 4 of the state constitution. So that's pretty much the big piece there. And there's a lot of other things on Ballotpedia if you'd like to read it. You guys can go ahead and take a look after if you'd like. But that's that piece. So go ahead. You've got the floor, man. Go ahead and let's talk some education. What you got?
Yeah. So this is information that a lot of people tend to overlook or don't even really think about. And so I think it's good for this information to get out there so that people have it so that they can make an informed decision. As you stated, you just read the ballot summary. That's the ballot language, which is the title and the simple language for voters that they're going to see on the ballot. But what a lot of people don't understand is that there is a difference between the ballot language and the implementation language. And we've seen this in the past with other popular amendments that had good popular titles that voters got behind because it sounded good. But then when it passed, it then went to the legislature to have them decide what their interpretation of the amendment was. So the ballot language is not what is going, they're not going to cut and paste the ballot language and put it into the Constitution. It has to go through the legislature. Basically, we are being asked to trust the government to interpret this amendment the way we want them to. I don't know about you, but I have some issues with just writing a blank check to the government for them to fill in the blanks as they see fit. So that's
no,
yeah, no, what could go wrong? But with the Amendment 1 in 2014, we saw it with that. That was the land and water acquisition. That passed with like 74% supermajority. Like everybody loved and supported that. But when it passed, the legislature wasn't a fan of what the public understood that ballot initiative to be. And so the implementation language went in a completely different direction than what the public, the voting public, understood that amendment to be. And we've seen that with a lot of amendments over the years. The legislature will get an amendment, they'll pass it, or the voters will pass it, and then the legislature, the politicians in Tallahassee, will then get to use their interpretation of what the amendment is supposed to do, and then they write the legislation, the implementation language that ultimately gets ratified in the state's constitution. So we have to really be clear on this. What people are reading on their ballot is not what's going into the Constitution. What they're reading on their ballot is just an idea, a good sounding title and an idea on a subject, but it doesn't provide any of the actual details. There's no draft. They haven't even drafted the language that they are going to put into the Constitution. We don't know what it's going to be. We're being asked to trust the government on this one. And again, I'm reluctant to do so.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
From the government, and I'm here to help. No, I'm good, bro.
We can handle this. And the important thing to remember is that our rights to hunt and fish are already protected in the state statute, and there's no threat to them. There's the argument from the folks that are pushing this amendment that are saying, yes, there is a threat, but at the same time, they're also saying that this ballot initiative passed with unanimous support. So where's the threat? If everybody in Tallahassee is in support of hunting and fishing by supporting this amendment, where's the threat to our existing rights? They say, oh, well, it's a privilege, but they can repeal it at any time. That's not how the legislature works. Any politician that comes at or threatens or tries to propose a bill to repeal our right to fish and hunt. I don't know if you remember the state park issue when they tried to develop our state parks, and you saw how fast everybody came together and was like, yeah, that's not happening. Imagine that 50-fold. People would riot if anybody tried to take away our rights. We're the fishing capital of the world. It's a $14 billion a year industry. Nobody's coming for those rights. Nobody is coming for those existing rights. So all we're doing with this amendment is we're basically letting them fill in the blanks how they want, how how they're interpreting it. And again, I think that's too high of a risk.
Okay. So when I'm reading it, and like when I opened this, I was concerned because it was vague. And it was kind of like, okay. And like you said, we already have the statue that's got us covered. I mean, if you're an angler in this area, you specifically know, if somebody's bothering you on the beach, you have a statute that protects you from, hey, get off my land. Actually, I can fish here. Thank you very much. And you bothering me right now and impeding my right to fish is going to cost you more than it's going to cost me. So those pieces with that, the vagueness, I can see what you're saying there of how they can interpret and makes basically move it. And when I was reading the fors and against, I saw FWC pop up. FWC has entered the chat about like, look, no, our powers aren't getting limited, guys. Like, we calm down. We're still going to be able to do our job. But it also was another piece of, well, what is your job going to be allowed to do? Are they going to tighten things? Are they going to loosen regulations? I know a big discussion piece was the gill nets. As horrible as that damn program was, decimating an entire species very easily. I did see them saying, no, gill nets are still a no-go. That's 100% not going to be allowed to be touched. It won't happen. But still the pieces of this looking like, okay, look, we're going to guarantee you this right to hunt and fish. It's like, you already do. You're not cutting me, but why do you need to add it? So I like that you opened up with that of where's the need here. And I believe it started mostly from the hunters, not so much from the angler's perspective. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. My understanding is that it's really more hunters, but if you look at the population of sportsmen in Florida, if they went with just hunting, they're not going to get the support they need to pass this amendment. And so they kind of roped us anglers into this amendment because fishing is so popular and they know everybody's for it and so passionate about it. And there are a lot more people that fish than hunt. So they kind of roped the anglers in order to gain that support for their amendment in order to get it to pass. Again, there's zero threat to the right to fish in Florida. There's arguments to be made about what kind of rights or threats there are to hunting, but they're far-fetched. There's the argument that in other states there are groups trying to pass amendments to take away the rights to hunt and fish. That's kind of their argument. They're saying that here are these groups, they're trying to get these amendments passed in those states. A couple arguments against that. One, they're not even getting the support they need to end up on their ballot to pass an amendment. They're not getting enough signatures in those states. And two, those states are much lower threshold to pass, and they still can't get it passed. In 2026, we're going to need a 70% majority in order to change anything in our Constitution. 70% is one of the highest in the U.S. and is often considered impossible to achieve in today's political climate. So no group is going to come into Florida with, it doesn't matter how much money they have, they're not going to be able to gain the signatures to support any sort of repeal of our rights. They're not going to be able to pass any constitutional amendments that repeal our rights. And again, there's no politician in Florida that's going to be like, yeah, I'm against your right to hunt and fish, because that's political suicide. Nobody's going to reelect that person. Doesn't matter like what district you're in. Hunting and fishing is a popular thing for people in Florida to do or have an interest in, and it's an unpopular idea to try to repeal any of that. So again, where's the need?
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I am seeing comments on Facebook only. I'm not seeing them anywhere else. So Dylan, hi, nice to see you. Tony, thank you. Chris, good to see you. Let's talk the super. Okay, we're gonna go with a lot of this is. I don't know if that's the right word. we're basically guessing at this point as to what's going to happen because, like you said, it is vague. We don't know if they're going to say, don't worry, guys, it's going to be just that. This is all it is. We'll guarantee you the right to fish and hunt. As long as FWC continues to monitor the rules, follows with all that, that's it. Like, oh, that would be wonderful. Cool. Okay. You're guaranteeing it with no changes. FWC still has the whole word they get to say. Life's good. We have regulations. We have what we have overseers. Okay, cool. But let's play devil's advocate here because why not? The one thing that I always worries me, and you opened it up for that piece, is going to be, let's talk the extremes. What is the absolute worst case scenario that comes from this?
Worst case scenario is that due to the vague nature, the undefined terminology that's used in the ballot summary. If you look at the ballot summary, it uses preferred means and traditional methods. Those are not actually defined anywhere in the state. Like we all understand it differently. Like we even may all understand it very similarly, but again, it's not actually legally defined anywhere in the state, which means that the legislature then gets to decide and define what these terms mean. And if not appropriately defined, if not defined as we understand it, what it's going to do is it's going to open the gates to a flood of lawsuits that will potentially start overturning a lot of the popular laws that we have come to know and understand were beneficial to our fisheries, that helped protect and maintain our fisheries. But when we start talking about preferred means rather than science-based approaches to fisheries management, we started saying, well, no, fishing is the preferred means to managing a fishery, not science-based practices. That's when it gets really kind of scary, because should this amendment pass, and worst case scenario, should this amendment pass, and then all of a sudden we say, oh wait, this is happening in this fishery because of this, we need to address this. All of a sudden, we can no longer address this issue because the Constitution tells us we can't, because fishing is the preferred means of handling this issue, not passing legislation that can address this issue more effectively than the Constitution saying this is how it has to be forever. So it really kind of ties the hands of our generation and future generations to make corrections where and when needed.
Okay. Dude, is it not the worst thing when you have to think of the extreme measures nowadays, where it's like, what's the worst that could happen here? Because the vagueness makes it sound good. It really does. It's like, hey, we're going to guarantee you right to hunt and fish for the rest of your lives. Awesome. Sweet.
It sounds phenomenal. And again, my livelihood depends on this. I'm a captain by trade. I own a bait and tackle shop. This is my livelihood. I'm also very engaged in the political process in Florida, and I know the guys that helped draft the ballot language are too, and they're great conservationists. They are doing good things. The problem is we can't trust the government to interpret this language, this vague language, the way that we want them to. The legislature has proven again and again that if we give them a amendment that they have to then implement, because there's a few different types of amendments. There's self-implementing language that all it has to do is pass by the voters, and then it self-implements into the Constitution as written, as understood. The government doesn't get to say or define or interpret it the way that they want. Those, very straightforward. Then you have the citizen-initiated constitutional amendments. Those are put on the ballot by people gathering petitions, all of that. And then you have legislatively referred constitutional amendments. That's what this one is. This was referred to the ballot by the legislature. It didn't go through the rigorous process of gathering petitions throughout the state. It didn't go through the rigorous process of making sure public had their input. It only went through the legislature, got put on the ballot. If it passes, it'll then go back to the legislature to fill in the blanks, to interpret it the way that they want to interpret it without any real input from voters. So voters are voting for this, but they don't really know what they're voting for. They know what it sounds like they're voting for, just like when they voted in support of Amendment 1 for the land and water acquisition. They thought that they were going to be protecting land and water. But the state legislature diverted those funds for things like office supplies and salaries. It wasn't going to land and water acquisition. So we've got to be really careful. And again, vote however you would like. I just want people to be informed on what's actually happening. You're not voting on the ballot language that you see on your ballot. You're simply giving permission to the state legislature to draft the implementing language that gets enshrined in the state's constitution. And we don't know what that is. We don't have any draft language for what's actually going in the state's constitution. We've got this general idea, but with as many lawyers and politicians as there are in Tallahassee, anything can happen with this amendment after it passes the voters in November, or on the 5th, in 2 days now, I guess.
I didn't know this wasn't one of the ones that was, call it, user initiated.
Yeah, no, this was referred by the legislature. Tallahassee was like, let's put this on the ballot. That automatically should be a red flag. You got politicians saying, here, we have a really nice sounding title. We have a great ballot summary, sounds very safe. Everybody's going to support the right to hunt and fish. Everybody supports the right to hunt and fish, our current rights to hunt and fish. But those guys, those politicians are pretty sneaky in Tallahassee, and they have proved it with amendment after amendment. And I'm just asking people to be very careful and understand that they are not voting for the language they see on their ballot. They are voting to give Tallahassee permission to interpret that however they'd like, and then enshrine it in our Constitution. They're asking us to trust the government, and again, not going there.
You said it just as David posted this in. Biggest case to trust me, bro. It'll be good.
Trust me, bro.
And that's, you raised so many great points with this. And I know I got a question in this. I'm going to get to it. That had the verbiage. Let's just say, let's spitball here. If they would have thrown this on the ballot with the verbiage already locked down, this is what it is, this is what it covers, this is what it doesn't do, how could that be a problem? It wouldn't be, because it's like, oh, okay, maybe we needed to make it another tweak here and there. But for the fact that the legislature themselves, which are not all hunters and anglers, let's be honest, but jump on this and say we should make this a fundamental, with the state already having a block in there of a statute already covering. My next question boils into this, and this is the worst question I should ask. Okay, where's the money involved?
So there's always money involved, and that's why a lot of organizations that you would normally see opposing this chose not to oppose it, because there's so much money and they're afraid of getting framed as being anti-hunting and fishing. So they wanted to stay away from getting framed as such. And they tried it on me. Like, I was trying to keep my head down as much as I could on this amendment. But when I got the call asking if I would support it, I was skeptical at first. I looked into it. I heard what they had to say. And I did some more research. I started looking more into it. And then I got a call asking if I would reconsider, because I started leaning towards no. And then I got a call asking if I would reconsider. I'm like, I can't support this. The vague language, it's just a ballot summary. It's not the implementation language. 2 days later, they put out a hit piece on me. It was crazy. Like that, they're basically saying, reconsider this. Otherwise, we're gonna play politics and and kind of put out a hit piece on you. Not in those exact words, but the message was clear. It came through pretty clear. So those kinds of tactics automatically make me be like, I don't know if I should trust this process. And as far as back to your point on if they laid it out what they were going to actually put in the Constitution, it's hard to do that because of the ballot summary. In order to get on the ballot, you have to meet a certain number of words. I think it's around 75 words is the max that you can put on the ballot. So it's got to be just a very general statement of the concept that they want to implement. It's not what's actually getting put in there. It's just, this is the general idea. If it passes, it then goes to the legislature to let them work out all of the details and define all of the undefined terms and wording in there. So again, it's a lot. It's way too sketchy. It's way too fishy for fishermen.
Damn, only a short summary like that. I mean, you'd have to use the right words for 75 to get it right on to make a good valid point. So that would be tough. I mean, in worst case, you'd need something to back it up with some form of, look, yes, this is what we're doing and this is how we're going to do it. Something in writing that would be like, this is the plan. Here's the plan, the whole thing. This is what we're sending.
Absolutely. So if that ballot language that we see was there, but then they were also saying, we've already written we've already drafted the implementation language.
Yeah.
This is the full text of what's going to go into our Constitution, and got that out there as much as they've gotten the ballot language out there and the support out there. If they put that out there to say, this is the text and this is what it's going to do, that would have been great. They didn't do that. They just put that general summary on there. Then it goes back to Tallahassee and then they draft it.
Yeah.
No, we need more transparency than that. I don't want them getting that kind of power and control over the state of Florida. It's just not, it's not safe for the fisheries. It's not safe for anglers to give the government that kind of control.
It makes sense for sure. And dude, that part, oh man. Give me the meat and potatoes right there. That would have been it. That's that. We got a couple of questions here, and these would be great to throw in if you're good with it. Yeah. So Chris, I know Chris is in Connecticut. He's a big supporter of hunting angling, and he also looks a lot at the stuff down here. Any other groups involved to say, change this or adjust?
I don't think I fully understand that question. Like, what? Are there any other groups opposing or supporting? Is that what?
Yeah. Any other groups involved to change this? Chris, give me a little bit more.
Yeah, I need more before I.
Tira is a good one. I'm still a newbie with all this, especially this. What about endorsements from CCA and FWC? What is that angle?
So, as I'm not that involved with them, so I can't tell you what exactly happened to get their support. However, I do know that there's a very strong organized effort that whenever somebody is questioning the amendment, that they have a lot of people that come out and basically dox them online. Like anybody that has come out against it. And I feel that was kind of their approach with me. What they did with me is, first they're like, okay, he's running for office. Let's talk to him. Let's see let's educate him. That's fine. I was skeptical. I wanted to hear all of the points, get as much information as I could. And then after that first phone call, started looking more into it, started getting messages asking me to support it. I'm like, not yet. And then finally I made my decision. I'm like, no, this is too vague. I can't support it. And I started letting people know. And then I started getting you're running for office, but you don't support the right to hunt and fish. We're going to start telling people that. We're going to start doing that. So I kind of feel that was a common tactic used by those folks, was to kind of say, listen, if you don't sign on to support it, we're going to come at you like they did with the hit piece on me. We're going to come at you and we're going to basically tell everybody that you're anti-hunting and fishing, and we're going to dig up dirt and we're going to put it out there. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people did kind of cave to some of that pressure. I have some of the receipts, but I don't have all the receipts. I know that there was some dirty politics at play behind the scenes with this. So again, just so many reasons for me not to support it. I just want people to be informed and understand what they're actually voting on. And that's ballot summary, not actual implementation language.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Tira, I hope that one is a good question right there. And Barry, you shut your mouth, sir. No, I want nothing to do with that. Nope. No.
Yeah, hard pass, Barry. I may be
pass.
crazy running for office, but I ain't stupid. I'm not doing that.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I enjoy my life as it is. That's that. Yeah, don't wish that evil on them. I mean, that's the part. Okay, Chris sent in an update. That's a great one. All right, so what other groups are bringing awareness to this? Captains for Clean Water example is that kind of example.
As far as I know, Captains for Clean Water has stayed out of this, so they don't actually have a stance on it. I do see a lot of people saying that they are in support of it, but with my knowledge, I have not seen anything that actually shows that they're in support of it. In fact, from what I know, they're not taking a stance on it at all. Other groups, there are Florida Sportsman actually came out with opposition to it. The Florida Sportsman magazine came out in opposition, and the supporters of Yes on 2 went after them hard, attacking them, digging up dirt, basically just really uncool attacks, all to try to discredit them to boost it. It's like it's politics. I get it. That's what happens when you're passionate about something. Whether you're right or wrong, when you're passionate about something, emotions can get involved. That's what we have to remove from this. We have to look at this from a standpoint of, historically, has the legislature implemented amendments the way we want them to? No. So why are we giving them an amendment so close to our passion, our passion for fishing? Why are we giving them a blank check, essentially, to potentially redefine everything that we have come to know and understand about our rights to fish in Florida?
Well, dude, I'm glad you brought this up, and I'm really glad you wanted to come on the podcast and talk about it. For those of you watching, and for you guys are long time listeners, or this is your first time, I will be the first one to admit I am a big fan of conservation on the fish side. I will be the first one to tell you I don't care about limits. I don't like catching a limit because I'm not going to eat a limit in one sitting. I may be medium extra husky, but I'm not that medium extra husky. But I believe in my grandkids having an available species to fish someday. So it's a lot of things can come very quickly and be taken away without the proper documentation and things set a certain way. Some things look great on paper, and some things come out of the silver-tongued devil's mouth very, very smoothly and beautifully and eloquently that it just doesn't line up very right. So I'm extremely thankful for you, Captain, coming on here and talking about it and giving us that perspective, and at least giving us another view of it that maybe some of us didn't see, or maybe we just didn't know about because it looked good. But like you said, there's a lot of open interpretation and freedom to move in that.
Yeah. And my closing would be, I'm not going to sling mud at either side, opposing or in support. All that I ask is, because they fall back on the implementation language, they fall back to their talking points, they fall back to their ballot language, and they fall back to their other talking points. But all that I ask, don't come at me with really any arguments. I'm willing to discuss, answer any questions, but I want to know what the implementation language is. We can we could argue until we're blue in the face about what the ballot language means, but it truly means nothing until we know what the implementation language is. It has not been drafted. Show me the implementation language. Show me the draft implementation language that is going to be in our state's constitution, not the ballot language that we know who has been working on that. Again, great dudes. They did a great job writing that, but I don't know. I have not seen the implementation language. That's what I want to see, but it doesn't exist.
That sucks.
yeah, it does. But don't forget, you can trust the government. You can trust the government to implement that and draft that language.
Everybody's watching is probably just like, don't say those words.
Just trust the government. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Everything will be fine. All right, Cam. I'm going to drop you back down to the green room. We will hang back in and we'll catch up on the end here. And we'll get you off the air. But thanks again for coming on. Always great having you, and always good seeing you.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. All right, hold on one second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Again, completely your decision. There was no influence there. That was really his opinion, my opinion, and it's up to you to make your decision. Trust the government. That's going to be stuck in my head the rest of the damn night now. It's going to mess me up, that's for sure. But hey, hopefully this episode was helpful for you. If it was, please share it out. Let everyone know. Again, episodes come out weekly, every other week, depending on work. All based on knowledge. We always got different areas throughout the whole country with great pieces on surf fishing. We got some shark stuff. We got a lot of good things. So lots of fun episodes there for you. You've been listening to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. We'll see you next week. I'm out of here.